I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item that we have is approval of the agenda as presented. I would like to add a couple things to it. I mailed out the floodplain document, and we can discuss that. And that would be below EMA appointments. Pam also brought up these property sales that we are facing, and I put that below the floodplain document. And then we have and this is involving Andrew, we have a parcel of property that's owned by Dan Dupont that we need to discuss how the proper way we can handle that situation is. So
we got floodplain, and then
property sales,
okay.
and then Dan's property issue.
Okay.
Anything else we need to add to it? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. No one signed up. We'll move on. Minutes from 2/18/2025. Any additions, modifications?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next one up is Greg Hendershot. Vote for fire alarm dialer.
I got their copy, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
The dialer is the red box back there in I refer to as my old office. It's that box that mounts on the wall, and it connects to the fire alarm panel up here. So when there's an alarm that trips from the fire alarm panel, it notifies the dialer. The dialer then calls the Security Central, which is the monitoring company. When the dialer goes out, it travels along fiber, is what we have here, and then POTS lines, aluminum, maybe copper, and stuff like that. Because of the difference in lines, sometimes it loses connectivity, and then the dialer starts beeping, and it says on there communication failure. Now, this has been going on long before I even took over the maintenance duties here. It was happening when we had AT&T as well, so it's probably not in our building. It's somewhere between our building and the monitoring company on the old style phone lines. Recently, it seems like it's kind of picking up. It happens about roughly twice a month where it loses connectivity. While it's doing that, if this panel trips, we won't know unless we're here in the building. It'll start beeping. But if it's a holiday weekend, we won't know that it's tripping. Security Central will sometimes text me or call me and say that, hey, we're not getting communications with your dialer. So while it's down, they won't know to contact us. I got a hold of Dan Thompson, who does our fire alarm panel stuff here at the courthouse. And he said that what we're using is old technology. He said that most places are going to this cellular internet system where they would hook our dialer into our local internet system here, and a module would be installed to make a cellular communication. We currently have a primary phone line and a backup phone line now. And we would then switch over to, if you are wanting to do this, we would switch over to an internet connection and a cellular connection.
Okay, right now, our telephone system and our internet are the same here. It's all done through fiber, through PS.
So we're not using the two phone lines anymore?
Nope, because we changed that system. The old system was an analog system that used the old copper AT&T lines. And we changed out that system about a year and a half ago.
23.
I thought that
it went all fiber.
Okay, so everything, I thought that some stuff could be converted.
And one thing that happened to us just recently here, apparently they had enough data on some firewall software, and we lost our phone system for an hour maybe or
It's
so.
happened a couple times.
Yeah. So they had to reboot it and bring it back up. So I'm assuming it's working properly now. But that's the type of system we now have. We've got,
But the problem, I don't think, is here. It's
I don't either.
outside of here somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably these various boxes that where all these wires connect, probably. But
Yeah.
if we want to,
And that was part
fix
of our
this.
problem when we had the old copper line, see, that there would be times that the system was down and it would appear the phones were ringing, but inside the courthouse, they weren't ringing. And we had aggravated individuals that said, well, nobody's working at the courthouse. They won't pick up the phone. They won't do it. Well, it wasn't ringing. They didn't know to pick it up. So it was a bit of a problem back then. That's why we went through the whole fiber upgrade and put it on there. Now, I guess my question would be, I'd probably want to talk to PSC because I don't think that it's here. Our system, usually fiber either works or it doesn't.
well, we had a problem with AT&T as well before we switched to fiber.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's here either. I really
How old
don't.
is this dollar?
The
Do you have
dollar
any
itself's
idea?
only about 2 years old. It was put in new here roughly a couple of years ago, I think. The old dollar was taken, I think when we switched to fiber, we put it in.
The
Because
dollar?
the old dollar was through, I want to say AT&T.
Could be.
Well, that would be because it was about 23 when they did that, so it'd be about 2 years ago.
Yeah, that dollar's not very old. The dollar, I don't believe, is the problem at all. I just think, and like I said, this was going on long before I got here. Teresa would talk to me about it. Alice would talk to me about it. It's just, if we want to prevent it from happening, we can go this other route. It will increase our, I think, Chris, we pay 300 something a year for monitoring.
Yes, I think that's right.
It would go up to 480.
So what you're actually adding a backup through cellular towers? Is that what you're?
Instead of having a primary and a backup old style system, we would then switch to a internet connection and the cellular connection.
Yeah, well, the internet and the telephone system's one and the same now, so there's not going to be anything gained there.
Well, you'll have a cellular. You'll have
The cellular would be the only addition.
you'd have the internet and the cellular. So the
Yeah.
cellular would be probably an addition to it.
However, we have cell problems, obviously.
That's-
So I don't know if we should spend the extra money on something that may not
Well, that's
work.
that's the call for you guys to make.
I think I would maybe reach, who's our provider of this service?
P and G.
TSD Technologies.
GSD.
Yeah.
Okay.
TSD Technology.
I would, I would reach out to them and tell them, or call one of us, to have this discussion about the current system we've got.
Well, I reached out with him. I talked with him about this before under the old system, and he had mentioned this in the past.
Right.
Then we switched to fiber, the new dialer. The problem is continuing. So I spoke with him about it again, and he said in order to fix it, we're probably going to have to do this go through the internet and do a cellular backup system.
So now my next question would be with PSC, because basically if we've got fiber in here and it's functional, why is that call being, why is that unit being
Disconnect.
tripped out? Because if we have connectivity, which I think they're pretty well up with that, why is that happening?
It sounds like an
Because I'm-
equipment failure.
I'm concerned if we buy another dialer, we may find ourselves right back in. the
We're not buying another dialer. It's just a module to hook to the system.
Well, in other words, we're gonna be buying a cellular connection with that.
Right.
And we're gonna, as a backup, I'd prefer to have fiber than I would the cellular with how our service is.
Well, the cellular would be an addition to the
I know.
internet hookup that he was talking about.
There's a problem if it's fiber and it's dropping out. If we could address that, I think that would be worthwhile. If he's got any, check into that once. PSC's the one I think that we need to discuss this with.
I need to get Scott and Hip and this guy
Uh,
communicating.
Yeah. Greg Jarbo put in our phone system. He might be another asset you want.
That's
Well, I spoke with him about this.
Uh,
He told me that we had an Ethernet switch back there in that room to hook to. I don't think that we're currently, you sure we're not using old lines? Because my understanding when they put this system in, that it wouldn't, you couldn't go through the fiber with it at that time. I can double check and see. I can check with
We don't have an
PSC.
AT&T bill anymore, do we?
No, we don't.
I mean, it's all
Everything's
fiber.
through PSC, through fiber.
And our system, our phone system is based on the same fiber that our internet is.
I can talk with PSC.
We'll get together. Scott with PSC, Greg, you, and this guy.
To find, just to get to the bottom of
I
what's
really didn't
tripping
know,
up.
I hadn't really looked into much of this, so I didn't know what it was. I'll get that.
Look into it once a little bit and see if you can try to come up with a solution before we buy another system that may or may not get her done for us.
I'm sorry, Greg, I was out, so
That's all right.
I haven't been in on this, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Do we make a motion to table?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll bring more information.
Make that
back on the
motion.
18th.
Second.
A motion to table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Pam, keeping me on track. Next item up, we have payroll for 2/28/2025 in the amount of $195,553.58.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up for 2/28/2025 payroll withholding in the amount of $41,760.01.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Health claims in the amount of $84,458.60.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dental claims in the amount of $130.61.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Vision claims of $139.31.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Life insurance in the amount of $1,608.08.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Workers' compensation, I'm assuming this is a premium?
Premium, yes.
Yeah.
Quarterly.
Workers' compensation premium in the amount of $9,489.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Solid waste claim docket in the amount of $10,358.73.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Accounts payable, 3 March 3rd, 2025, in the amount of $217,511.58.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
The motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion of liability insurance.
I know that I've spoke with Commissioner Cole before, and the other commissioners, and I've got Kelly Wilgus here, who's my insurance deputy. Our liability insurance is not something that we have routinely scheduled to bid out. Typically, I would think that this is something that we'd want to make sure we're getting competitive pricing and making sure all of our stuff's in line. I just wanted to open the discussion. I know for me, I'm in year 3 and I've spoke about it with you every year and just want to see what the plans were for that. I know that Kelly Wilgus, she's here. She's worked really hard with Randy and myself and Shepherd Insurance, who we're currently with right now. But I still feel that we need to look at making sure we're getting competitive pricing and doing what's best for the county as far as that, and get in a routine of bidding this out either, I would feel minimum every other year. So I just wanted to open that discussion. If that's not something you guys are interested in doing, then okay, but just wanted to go on the record that it really honestly hasn't. Kelly and I tried to go back to figure out when the last time it was bid out, and we've been back so far, we can't even find it. I think honestly, our insurance was with Franzman until they were purchased by Shepherd, and it always has been. And not to say that they're not who, but I feel we need to make sure that that's something that we're getting competitive pricing on. So just wanted to open that discussion and see your guys' thoughts on that.
Wasn't that bid out just last year?
Our liability? No,
All of our, well, what did we bid out in the
what
fall?
was that?
I mean, we ended up bidding it out we only ended up with one bid.
Because we weren't far, okay, so Kelly and I attempted to bid it out, let me rephrase that. And we we did it in 2023 because it was my first year. And we started way too late. We had so many people that said, so many agencies that said, we would love to, but we don't have enough time. And
You almost have to start at the beginning of the year, January or February, to give them time to get quotes on everything that they need.
Then when
So
does
we
this
just
due?
didn't have.
September, isn't it?
Some expires August, the 1st of August. Some is in June. We have a few that are in February. So,
I would like to get a company that can take all of the liability. You know, not 3 over here and 2 over there and 5 over here and they expire different times. One bid for all of it.
What we're doing right now, Becky, I've been doing this. There's a gentleman that I'm trying to get committed to a price that will do a risk analysis for the county.
Mhm.
Kelly's got me what we buy as far as insurance concerned. Steve, as he's been out testing SIM cards, has been taking pictures of towers, buildings, things of this nature to send to him. As of yet, I haven't got a price. What he does is he'll come in and he'll take a look at everything we're doing throughout the county to make sure we have proper insurance. We're not over-insuring, we're not under-insuring. And then he needs to look at all of our contracts.
Yeah.
And as an example, some of our, the old antiquated ambulance contract written in 1986 does not have a requirement that who's going to pay for the insurance.
Right.
They're owned, the ambulances, the equipment, everything. We just spent in 24, $1.2 million on ambulances and equipment. I'm comfortable the hospital has them insured. That's all county property, but it
Yes.
needs to be spelled out that they're going to do it and they're going to be responsible for it. So those are the little weaknesses we have within our system. And I'm working with him because I don't want to give him an open checkbook. I want to be
Right.
fair with him, but I don't want to get started into something like this. And he is not an agent. He will not bid on it at all. And I thought this is the fair way to try to establish what we actually need if we can get a risk analysis.
And then put it out for bid. for
Then put it out
everything.
and they'll have a specification, exactly what you have to bid on, what you have to provide. Kelly brought it up to me earlier, and some of these policies are coming up. We really don't have a choice. We can't run without insurance.
No.
So it'll be a situation where we need to renew the things as they come along. Hopefully, I don't know how long it would take him to do this and how to put it together, but I am hopeful that we can get it done relatively quick, get it bid in the fall. That's my hope.
Thank you.
So yes, we do agree. It needs to
Thank
be
you.
looked at.
But that's-
Once
that's
we get the
our-
RA,
I mean,
there's lots of companies that specialize in this thing and carry other governments. It needs to be looked at definitely at least 3 years to shop the market to make sure we're receiving fair pricing.
Absolutely. Good.
Yeah, and then like
Thank
Randy said, we could be pricing, we could be underpricing, be
Absolutely.
underinsured, overinsured, and it don't make
Well,
sense.
as an example, when we bought the first ambulance, I think it was when the first one came in, we checked, or it was the end of 23. Come to find out that we were insuring the ambulance, as was the hospital. Okay, so both of us are paying for it. We even found
We found
the old,
buildings.
courthouse annex at Cannleton. We were still covering that 2-3 years after it had been sold. Those are the things that are still within the
Right.
system that, we've got to catch those and clean it up. Because the next thing that'll happen to us, we'll think we have insurance
Mhm.
and we don't. And so we don't want to go that direction either. So it's a process and it's not going as fast as I would like it to go, but we're still.
Any
This
idea
is
when there's
one of
just have
Kelly's
that?
projects. She's trying to, so and I just wanted to make sure we're, like I said, Kelly and I have been working on this and talking with you since 23, and here we are in year 3, so we want to make sure we're on a plan to.
Steve's been having his camera out because I just give him that same task when you go past a county facility and a tower and any asset, take a picture of it. He gave me a whole bundle of information here about a week or so ago, and I mailed it all off. So it's,
It'll also make it easier, one payment.
well, once we get to this, and we can actually purchase what we need,
Mhm.
let them then we can get competitive bids, and we'll know when we
Right.
open one up that they're consistently bidding on what we're asking.
I think that we at the county level have done as much as we can
Mhm.
as far as that. Now, this risk analysis is what we need to make sure, yeah.
So
Thank you, I
basically, the
appreciate
motion
that.
is to move forward with the risk analysis.
Well, we're gonna get a price first, so I'm just,
We
I
need
don't
that.
open, that makes me uncomfortable. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Next item up is the opening of the highway bids. This is for Leopold Road between 66 and, I think Leopold Road South, if I remember, basically at the top of the hill.
Come on up, Steve, in case we need you. I know you're tired, you've been cutting too many trees, ain't you?
Yeah,
Steve, on Leopold Road, I drove that road. There was a lot of work that was done on the road, and I think it looked like PSC. Are they planning on fixing what they dug out?
yeah.
It's a mess.
Yeah, when they lay them lines, they'll wind up,
Mhm.
have called back a few times usually.
I do want to compliment whoever took care of High Water Road, because that was the only road that was to be able to go out to Tobin Sport.
Yeah.
And they took, it looks good now, but I think they took
Getting
very
ready.
good care of it.
I'm just gonna read the total amount. We have different breakdowns through this entire thing, and I suspect if we go ahead with the project, we'll go ahead with the project. But E&B Paving has a price of $646,340 for this project. And I do like the tabs. That is easier for me.
That was EMB.
That was E&B, yes. And this was from J.H. Rudolph. J.H. Rudolph has a price of $918,816.25 for the project. The last bid is C&R Construction.
Ooh, they got tabs too, don't
I
they?
know, everybody's getting trained. For an old guy like me, it's appreciated. C&R Construction has a price of $695,254.50 for this project. So with that said, I think that's over our budget, is it not, Steve?
Yeah,
A little bit?
yeah, a little bit.
What
So,
was the budget for?
well, this is money that we actually got in the second round of community crossings, slightly less than 400,000.
It was $398.
And then we would be responsible for matching it at 125. So in the 525,000 range is where we'd be at on
Where
there.
do you pay the rest out of,
on
Steve?
money.
Stress. Where do you pay the rest out?
I mean, these could be some discussions we're gonna have to have.
Yeah,
We need to take these under advisement and
I've only got 2 days to have it a bid awarded.
for the state.
Yes.
That's because of community crossings, right?
Yes.
That's
I have-
good.
By the 5th, I have to have that submitted to them
Or we lose the money.
or lose money.
Yeah, we don't want to give that money back.
I know, I don't want to give that back.
Can you accept the bid pending everything's okay on
We just want to make sure that we don't get charged extra for
Uh,
stone. And it needs to be very, very
it? That's in the
specific.
contractors. I've talked to all 3 of them. I think they all understand that, and I've put it in our contract that it's a fixed price.
Right.
The only thing is, and this can be something, we can have an emergency meeting too, but if we would want to consider, it's broke down in different aspects, what you're doing. As an example, this one here, I'm looking at wedging and leveling, 3,850 tons. We try to save some money with something like that. I don't know what the consequences are of.
Yeah, they've always got the wedge and level and
Yeah.
milling and
Right.
everything broke down.
So, I drove the road too. I can remember on some of these others, the state, if some of the contractors wanted to wedge them more, the state wouldn't pay for it because it cost them too much money. It might be something we would consider to get it back into our budget. If that's something, that would be something we'd probably have to engage with the contractor about, and have to do it pretty quick in order to make this happen. Andrew, could we ask the apparent low bidder to stay around after the meeting for a discussion without having a problem with advertisement and because of the time constraint? I know we can have emergency meetings. I didn't realize we were within 2 days of requirement to have it in, but
I don't think you can meet as a quorum. I think maybe one of you could talk with them and make sure there's an understanding about what's going on. The vote here could be to approve a bid, giving some
Pending.
discretion, pending some review or pending your discretion or some member's discretion in that discussion. But yeah, I don't think you guys could meet with them as a.
what do you guys think? We cannot, they're here already. By the time what are we on, even like an emergency? I think we can do it quickly. I don't know whether they're gonna gauge this as an emergency or not.
I have to look.
Otherwise, it's 48 hours.
So if we did it, if I get it posted today, you could do Wednesday at 11,
I have to have it in by the 5th.
which is Wednesday. So you have to have that.
I have to get the contract to them.
Early
they
as
have to
possible. I'm just
sign it,
saying
and
that's-
I have to fill out the paperwork and get it submitted to them.
Yeah, the earliest we could do and advertise would be Wednesday at 10 or 11.
Are you two okay with me talking with the contractor individually?
Do you want to talk to the two least or just the least?
Right now, we've got one, it's $50,000 difference approximately.
Yeah.
If we can't
I
get
think it would be the
something
fair thing to do.
resolved with the lowest price one, or however we're gonna address this,
I would like to see both. Like I said, it's $48,914 difference.
The two lowest.
Two lowest bidders.
that's fine with me. I'm not opposed to that. We can, if they both wanna be included.
I don't think this would qualify as an emergency. It's an immediate physical harm.
Right, generally,
Tornado.
buildings fell down.
Yeah.
Okay. You're okay with that? I would entertain a motion to approve the lowest qualified negotiated price, so we can go ahead and put this project into motion. We sure don't want to lose our
No,
community crossings funding.
Per your discretion, correct?
I guess.
I make a motion.
I second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
So if the two of you wouldn't mind staying around, and Steve,
Okay.
after the meeting.
That,
CNR and E&D.
Get that page 2 and R96 has to be
Seen
signed
our
today.
EV.
Yes, I'll do
Thank you.
By all three commissioners?
We'll do it.
Okay, so you guys go enjoy yourself around
I'm
somewhere.
going to work.
You're gonna have to get back. Steve says this has to be signed by all three commissioners.
I can come back by.
Okay.
I'll
So,
have them in the auditor's office and you can come back by and sign today.
I should get off 3:00, somewhere in there.
okay, so we'll see what we can do.
That's what happens when you retire.
look at them right now.
Unless Andrew's going to.
No, you go ahead. The technical part is a lot more.
Okay, next item up we have is the PulsePoint CAD integration. We have already approved this, right?
I thought we did.
We got that signed email, I just want to make sure everything's good.
This is, as we discussed at our last meeting, this is to get it installed at the Tell City Dispatch Center. It will have, once we get our first responders all operational, every place within the county where there is an AED or a aid box or whatever, just like the one mentioned here, we've got over there. And it will be on your phone where they can pull it up. It's a really nice tool for you in the event of an emergency or a first responder where they can find where this safety equipment is located. And it needs to be installed with the dispatch, and that's what this bid was. And I think we approved it and signed it at the
Yes.
last meeting, so.
Where is it going from?
This is a part of the ARP funding
Okay.
that was set aside under the first responder ambulance, whole big package of money.
Okay.
So, yeah, before I take away any of this. Next item up is economic development, and we have been in a process with that also. We have received interest from 3 entities. RJL Solutions, the Perry County Development Corporation, and TPMA to provide services. We sent out a questionnaire, which all 3 of them filled out and complied with, and we need to make a decision and move forward. Any discussions on this?
I just have a statement. I represent District 3, which is Northern Perry County. Been a resident for 20 plus years of Northern Perry County. I live the daily struggles. I see the daily struggles that we're all dealing with economic development. I do feel our districts are all very different, and I would just like to express my opinion for District 3. Economic development, we're struggling with basic infrastructure. We need roads, we need water. Just last week, we were looking at economic development. I think something was released through the Perry County Economic PCDC on a report that came out, findings from this study, and the leader of the group stated that at that time, their concern was that our residents were traveling outside of the county to get veterinary services. That very day, our residents are on snow routes because we couldn't utilize our roads to drive on because they were in such bad condition. So that's when I made up my mind of like, we have to move forward. We have to have changes. Otherwise, we're going to be in this boat over and over again. It's the basics that we want: roads and water. That's all I have to say. I don't know if they're prepared to move forward with the vote, but I made up my mind.
My district in 2 runs Tobin Township, which a lot of it runs into Derby. And I'm thinking maybe part of Leopold. And out in that district out there, and it's, I'd like to see more. And I know it's hard to do because we have 66,000 acres that belong to the Hoosier National Forest. And that is really what a lot of that is holding us back from doing any moving forward in Perry County. Yes, I do believe we need a lot of things, but getting them is a different story. And that's all I've got to say.
Do we have I'm looking at, there's a fair amount of difference between the offerings of the group. I'm ready, I would entertain another different path forward if everybody's okay with that. And it's not anything that we have to be locked in for 20 years.
It's a year's contract, correct?
It is a year's contract, yes. So the question is direction. What's everybody comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with RJL.
I personally like RJL also.
I'm okay with them. They're currently carrying out the task for Spencer County. I have spoken with Spencer County commissioners, and they are satisfied with what they've received so far. So is that a motion, Becky?
Yes.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. So we'll contact RJL and I'll contact the others and let them know of our decision. Next item we have up is solid waste. I have sent you information on compactors.
Yes.
And where we are right now, if you look, he just sent out our costs in that today, and I know no one's I haven't had a chance to really review them. But what we're getting is we have one that's owned by Waste Management at Branchville, and there's no compaction at Cannleton at all.
Open
So,
top, no.
Open top. So we're not compacting, so we're paying too much for all of our transportation costs. And Waste Management charges substantially more than what we can get it in the open market hauled to a different location. So there's different offerings in there. One of them is a refurbished unit that's in the $18,000 range. And then the other ones are, they're into the 3-yard, and then there's a 4-yard. The heavy duty ones are of higher pressure. So in other words, we're going to compact the trash tighter. So we can approach this in a couple ways. We could change out the one at Branchville as an individual one at any time as just a separate unit, or we could bid our whole package, what we're going to do at Branchville and at Cannleton. The Cannleton right now, we're in the process of reworking the elevations up there because currently it's flat. And anyone will tell you that goes up there on a day after it rains, it is nasty. We have had a survey done to the south side of the property. We have ground there and it's lower. So the plan is Kenny Simpson's working on a slope plan where we will push the existing rock back out of the way, move the dirt into the lower area, and then replace the rock back over it again, and then either pave it with either concrete or asphalt so it cleans the whole operation up.
I don't like asphalt on there. I'd rather see concrete.
Well, I think it's going to be our wallet's going to drive us through with
So I
what
was gonna
I
say,
know
how
that.
is this gonna be funded out of?
this is our choice. But see, these are the things that we have to take a look at to see what we can do. So depending on how we want to approach this, that's why these are estimates on what our costs are. It's kind of, we can move if we want to go individually with the Branchville changeout. I mean, we could do that tomorrow. The other one is going to require site prep, and it'll have to have a concrete pad poured for the compactor unit to set on. And we can't do that until we get the elevations changed so the lot actually drains.
So who would pick the tubes up?
Well, if we buy a universal tube, we can get one that currently 5Gen, which is a Lettering
Yes.
group, moves them, and they have a hook method on all their trucks. And then there's another one you see, and I think TDS is on there, it has a roll-on type. So if we get tubes that are dual purposed, we can actually get pricing from whoever wants to do that on an annual basis or biannual. Spencer County bids out their transportation, I think, every year. And what their contract says is they will be there within a day of the call, and they pick them up. And what we would need to do is to get 3 tubes. One would be an empty spare, and then the other 2 would be on the compactors, so that we can do this.
Okay, on these, there's 2 estimates here on that refurbished and the newer whatever. Is there any type of guarantee?
The refurbished, the last time the guy had said they carry the same warranty as what a new one does, same length of time. They're fairly simple. They're nothing but a hydraulic ram
I know.
that just,
And the cost difference of us owning one and,
but what we're getting right now is that if you see an invoice from a current provider, the cost of transportation is about twice what 5Gen's charging us. And then they have add-ons for fuel and all kinds of miscellaneous charges that are an ongoing. I brought those along with me.
yeah, I got that.
It turns around and just, and then the price per ton at their landfill in Indiana is
Yeah, they have to
substantially
take
higher.
it to their landfill.
Yeah, that's where they take it versus taking it over to Davis County.
That's where they get you.
Yeah, so, and those are things that are going to continue to be a variable. And that's why I think it's the best interest of the county to own the equipment. And then if the landfill becomes more affordable or less affordable, we can take it there. I mean,
It looks like $12,954 on 114, a claim from Waste Management. And then there's another one here for $24.58.
yeah.
Is that a month?
Yeah. That's,
See, I know that the 5Gen was pulling things in the $200 to $250 per load range.
Yeah.
And I believe that Waste Management was in the $500 range.
yeah, they have to take it to their own landfill.
Yeah, and then
Because
the
they
rate per
own
ton
it.
over there was substantially higher, what we're being charged also. I think Davis County was in the $40 range and the other one was in the $80 range.
Yeah, 5Gen's got 2,200, 1,700, and 1,522, but they made more trips.
And part of that is because they have open top trailers.
Right.
And it's not a good practice, so.
What's our budget right now? Support.
Well, that's what, we have ARP funds set aside for buying this equipment, so it's not gonna be a budget problem. It depends, again, depends what direction we go and how, it's just like the lot up there's nasty, so.
I mean, we need to get something that is going to be compacted instead of just thrown in and hauled off. We're wasting money, just like out at Branchville. I don't know, a lot of people might not know this, but the one out there, before the county took over solid waste, we didn't know whether it was full, half full, quarter full, or full, either one, none. And because the gauge wasn't working. Well, for months, they didn't come fix the gauge. And then finally, when they did, we found out, when the county took it over, that we can put 900 to 1,000 trash bags in that one tube.
And we started having him count them too.
Yeah, we had to count them to, make it, the guy at Branchville, he's a very nice guy, and he was more than willing to do it. And that made a big difference in the cost.
So the question comes back is how we want to approach this, bid it as a group, or whether we want to piecemeal it and get started. And then whether we want to consider refurbished equipment versus new equipment.
If the refurbished has the same warranty as the new,
The only thing that, I think the only drawback on the refurbish is it will not be the new high pressure. But I don't know how much additional tonnage and whether it justifies $15,000 more money.
yeah.
I think it'd be nice to just start at one location, and get one, just to see if it
Mhm.
does work and how
See what the
how it
cost
works.
savings is first.
It'll work, because that's what we got out there now. It's just a matter of we'll own it, and then we can control what landfill it goes to and who's hauling it and what we're gonna pay for it. That's basically what'll happen.
Yeah.
But,
This is out of ARP funds, nothing within the budget.
I agree with Pam. I think we ought to start at with one and see how it goes and what the cost savings are and then if they will do that.
Well, I mean, these are individual prices.
Yeah.
And the refurbished stuff, the only thing is it was current. I'm sure it's probably limited if they sell it or not. So that might put us, we'll just have to check. But if you're okay with that, we'll get that while we're waiting for the development of these drawings and stuff, and then we'll have to.
Didn't Kenny do some drawings up there?
He did, and what he's doing, it was so flat, it was like 1/10 of a foot that he's trying to get everything to work just perfect.
Yeah.
And he's using that same drawing now, and he's going to make a more substantial slope.
Because he didn't know we owned that property.
Right.
Okay.
So now that we've had it surveyed, it's there. That's one other thing up there. We need to move the fence over, and we need to get rid of the trees that's in the ground. It's in that ground that we found that we now own.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be a nominal expense if we want to reach out and get just some simple quotes. I think you had some people over at the animal shelter that was doing fencing for them, 2 or 3, I think you got them. If you'd want to reach out to those people, the flags are up there where the corners of the property are. So if we could get some ideas
Get a
on,
quote from them for fencing.
yeah, get a couple of them once, and we can go ahead and get the fencing started moving.
Okay.
And then we'll just have to get rid of, there's some trees in that's grown up that need to find a new home. So, okay, if that's okay, I'll look into just Branchville to start with.
Yeah. And this month on February for tag sales was about 4,250. I don't have the exact number with me, but I wrote them down. So it's going real steady with the tag sales.
Okay.
We need a motion or anything.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to move forward with Branchville
Yes.
facility.
A second.
And see what we have in refurb equipment.
Yes.
Refurbished.
Primarily, we can do that, and then if it's not, we'll talk about it,
At least we can look and see how
if it's available.
if it's available and see how it goes. If it's something we want to count, then we can
Okay.
get one for there if they have
I've
it.
got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item we have up is the CVB office, and they haven't made this decision yet, but the CVB has used to kind of operate as 2 different entities, and at their last meeting, they decided to concentrate it back into the government unit, which is the commission. We appoint members, as does Tell City, to that commission. With the new requirements on streaming, they're going to have to start doing that. So they currently don't have the facilities, and the discussion has been about what the county might have available. And I made mention to them that we no longer are utilizing the solid waste office at the armory. And then we have broadcasting facilities in the room adjacent to that office. And so they've went and looked at it. They're going to have a meeting and discuss it further. But I wanted to be comfortable, get a commitment that the commissioners are okay with them utilizing that facility if they choose to. And the way it was set up with the solid waste, I think they only paid telephone. It's probably what they paid. Other than that, there was not any rent associated with it.
Their phone bill went directly to them, so they never came here.
Okay, so then it was directly billed to them. So is it still with them? Because I'm not sure. They're on fiber up there at Candleton. So, but they need to pay their bill. But either way, they'll pay their phone bill. It's not. But I would just ask that if they do choose to occupy that we're okay with them utilizing that office.
I don't see no problem. It's an office not being used.
The only thing is, we're gonna have to clean it out again.
I think it needs a lot of cleaning.
Okay,
Yeah,
Cindy, on the contract for the depot, did you find out anything about that?
I gave that to Randy.
Yeah. I've got to read it now. She handed it to me
Oh,
this morning.
I didn't know
Speed
if you
reader.
had to keep it all year or what.
We don't know yet.
But that'll be their decision, but I'd entertain a motion that they can utilize the building with rent-free. if that's something they choose to do. And then they can also utilize the room behind it to broadcast their meetings, which will
Do you know when
require.
they're supposed to make this decision in case somebody else wants to occupy that office?
I think they'll make it shortly. I think they're having a meeting. I think Steve, 4th, 5th, 6th, something out there in the room, and they're gonna look at things and make some decisions, so.
Cindy, just so you know, that room's not always set up for broadcasting. So you'll still need to communicate with my office on broadcasting so we can go get it set up and make sure we have it reserved routinely, because there's always things out there and it's rearranged and all that, so.
Yep,
So with you or with Steve?
yep, Mr. Technology, he can help set it up.
Once
over
you,
in the corner.
Once it gets set up, it's relatively easy to start and stop, so.
Yeah, just so we don't double book the room, because it happens.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve the use if they so choose.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Next item up is the EMA appointments. And I think it's the same old group with the exception of Derek Woodfield, right? Chris?
Derek, we have Randy Cleaving, Steve Howe. I have letters of interest from these people.
I had 5
Bill
of them.
Sheeter, Dave
five.
Brigham, or, it's not Dave, sorry, not pies. Dave Brigham and Joe Flavian. Those are the ones I have.
I thought Joe didn't want to be on it no more.
3, 4, 5.
Joe Fleming,
I was
Susan Zone.
contacted, Joe, sir.
I thought there
His
was,
letter is to not be reappointed.
yeah, to not be
That's what I was
reappointed.
thinking, that's what they.
I've never had a letter to not be reappointed, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you said.
And each one of them, I believe, now, I know one of our concerns originally used to be that they actually lived in the area they were representing. And I think that's true with everybody that has applied now. So I think that's critical, that it's not all concentrated in one part of the county.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Derek Woodfield.
Bar Anderson.
Correct.
I'll second that. He's young and been involved with a lot of fire departments.
We have a motion and a second to nominate Derek Woodfield for Henderson Township. All those in favor?
Aye.
Then the other ones, we only have one applicant for each one of them, correct? Chris?
Yes.
Correct.
So as a group, is everybody okay with that? Which would consist of Mike Bergerman, Steve Howe, who am I forgetting?
Phil
Dave
Sheeter,
Bergerman. I don't know.
Dave Bergman, Phil Sheeter.
Bill Sheeter, and yeah, those 3 for the other townships. Right?
Dave Bergman, Phil Sheeter, Steve Howe,
That's it.
and Derek Woodford, and
So we've already got Derek into
Yeah.
Anderson. Then we
Yeah.
have these other 3 as a group then, if we just nominate them as one.
So Troy would be Dave Brigham. Union, Steve Howe. Sheeter.
yeah, Phil Sheeter.
He's in Clark, isn't he?
Yes.
Clark and Oil,
And Steve's in Leopold Union,
Union and Tobin, Steve Howe's Union and Tobin.
Tobin, okay.
All right, I'll make a motion for Dave Brigham, Troy, Phil Sheeter, Clark, Derek Woodfield, Anderson, Steve Howe, Union.
I'll second.
We're gonna take Derek out of there, you've already put him in. You know,
Just went down the
you're
list.
gonna work
She just went down the list.
the 3 remaining.
Makes
All
it
those
easier.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we got that done. He's gonna think he's appointed twice. The next item up is the floodplain document. I think I sent that out to you. Little background on that. The DNR came down. This is back when I was doing the planning and zoning in December. And they came in and said that we needed to update our ordinance to reflect the new rules. And if we didn't do that, then the flood insurance would not be available. So representative came down, met with myself and Mandy Jackson, put all the language basically in that we needed. And then Mandy took it upon herself, put in all the Perry counties and the rest of the stuff, and this is the generation as to what we got. It's just a matter of simply signing it, putting an ordinance number on it, and that will get it up to the current requirements for the floodway, and it's related to the planning commission.
How long does that last? A year?
No, this one, the last time I think they updated it was maybe 10 years ago. And they gave us a call and said, you guys have to get this updated or you're not going to be eligible. So it really didn't give us a lot of leeway there.
I ran out of ink before I could.
So,
I make a motion for approval and to assign the ordinance number.
Do I have an ordinance?
I can.
I have getting an allocation for paper and ink.
I'm running a lot of things out of my budget.
Good. So I have a motion from Pam to accept the floodplain ordinance. Do I have a second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item we have on here is our property sales. We have some property that's hanging around the system. And Pam, do you have values on those now?
We have the value of the taxes that are owed.
Is that a commissioner sales?
That's the
Yes.
commissioner's. Yeah.
Here's the,
It took some
What is that?
digging. We had to
correct,
assign some new parcel numbers. Yes, that's correct.
and then they removed that one piece of property.
Correct.
Okay, here's my question, because we're going to get into this in just a moment. That was a ghost piece of property,
Yes,
correct?
a ghost property,
So
yes.
how was that removed?
Yes, but no. So it wasn't a ghost property. It was a error in originally recording. I think they've already searched back like 100 years. So basically it was supposed to be a rectangle and then it cut out a little square.
About 10 by 10 square.
Yeah, so that property will go to the original owner that they dig back to find who that belongs to.
So has there been something in the recorder's office, some kind of documentation to reflect that happened? So
Yeah,
that
and they're working with
we
their
know-
county surveyor to do that also.
Okay, so
They're
there's
working
a,
on that.
okay, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what we need to do is approve the sale of these, right?
Correct.
And
With
we're willing to-
SRI.
Yes, with SRI, and accept what bids up to 65%, is that what you had?
Yeah.
Pam?
Yeah, we don't have to wait the full year.
120 days.
Yes, only 120 days, which is a
So-
lot better.
I'd entertain a motion to proceed with the sale of these properties through SRI.
So this would be like, that's what's owed, and then you add 65% on it, correct, to cover cost?
No, she's gonna come up with, they're gonna come up with an appraised value, right?
Oh, I don't know.
And then we'll accept, or some type of a value.
My idea was 50% of that plus the 15%
For
commission.
their other,
So that way we can remove these and.
that'd be the minimum price.
Yeah, it'll
Minimum
be
price.
removed, and then plus it'll cover the cost.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
What was it, 50 and
50 and 15.
Yep,
15?
they will charge 15% commission on.
And if somebody then bids,
for us.
we're gonna take the money if they bid more than that. That's
Yes,
just the minimum.
Correct.
And SRI takes care of all that.
Yep.
Yes.
yes.
They are wonderful.
And we are hoping to, once we get this approved and moved, we should be able to do it around April and that will be all. We'll
I
have
think
to
we've already got a
advertise.
date set,
Okay.
yeah. I got it on the calendar.
So did I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item we have up is Dan Dupont. He has a similar situation. Get up here, Dan. What he has, Andrew, and what in essence, and correct me if I'm wrong when I'm going through this, Dan, but he had his property, he has a road that actually he's paying taxes on, property underneath the road. And the tax went from like in the $10, $15 range up to 120 this year. And he's thinking, why am I paying taxes underneath this road? Then he had David Lynch came up and surveyed it, and then he combined it. And this is an old deed made up with rods and that. And his suggestion, rather than trying to transfer this when his deeds now reflect his total property, how do we get rid of this deed and the old tax bill that he keeps getting presented on owning the property underneath the county road? And what I had a discussion with him, we need to have something in the recorder's office that reflects the fact that this deed, so that when the next title search person comes through, they go, oh, what happened here? They can actually know we took action and we took that off of the, his property, and it's really a non-event because it's been re-described in a way. Am I right?
Well, partially.
Okay, correct me there.
Since we started investigating, and to be clear, this property is owned by Lucille Howe, my mother-in-law.
Okay.
I'm representing her, unfortunately. Having researched it, you can clearly see there's 3 deeds now added to this one. And I think this is what Andrew had problems with when he saw that. He saw that, well, what about this 15 feet? Well, the fact is, I found out from David that when we redid the survey, he went to the section line, or the quarter line, instead of going to the broad wide line like had originally been done. So there's 3 deeds now that encompass this entire road. The only thing that's left on this deed is 100 feet that's currently adjacent to my homestead property. So the whole issue was, the assessment went from $1,400 to $6,200 on this .445 road that everybody uses and everybody along it pays taxes toward. And then, so I don't know what, we can assign that to the county, but it'll have to be rewritten with all those exceptions. And there won't hardly be anything left. So
The question is, how do we address this? He's tired of paying taxes on the county road.
So the way
Don't
you,
know why, but
the procedure to address it's simple. You sign basically a donation agreement between them and us. We'd have, the appropriate legal description, and then by resolution, you'd accept the donation. You just can't donate and then we don't accept it. The only issue I see is just making sure that we have the correct legal description. And that's not something I'm super great at reading,
so does that mean David Lynch needs to prepare an actual correct?
if he can give us the legal description of what.
And then you write up the rest of it?
I've already prepared a resolution. I just need to fill in the blanks. I already prepared an agreement where it's basically a donation. I would just need the correct legal description and the correct parties. 'Cause I got a little confused about who was deeding what over.
That work for you?
Yep.
Just get a hold of
David,
David and have him formulate that description, whatever, and let him plug it in. And are we okay with that? I mean, he's just, I get it, he doesn't want to pay taxes on the county road.
Absolutely.
well, we in fact are. I'm
You're
paying
ta-
taxes
As Steve told
on
me, it
that same road.
goes on quite regularly within the county. So
Did you see if he's going back, or is it gonna be
I think just going forward,
just going
yeah,
forward?
he just,
Yeah,
it's went from what, $10-15 to $100 and some
Because the
dollars.
assessed value.
And I think it kind of, brought his attention to it, and Dan's now decided that he's gonna address this now, and
If it was 10,
we need
15,
to.
I didn't care, but now it's up to 100 with the AVs going on. I
So
get it.
if everybody's okay with that, we'll wait for Dan to get with David, get a description, get it to Andrew, and then we'll accept the donation and get this thing put to rest.
all
So,
right, thank you.
Dan, you're gonna want this problem.
We all got a copy of it anyway.
With that said, that's our last thing,
Make a motion.
let's make a motion to
But
accept,
Dan,
I'll second.
Dan will be getting with Mr.
With-
Lynch.
to get a proper description, and then the county attorney will prepare the documents and we'll accept the donation. So, who's gonna make that motion?
And do
Pam did, okay. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next meeting is Tuesday, March 18th at 6 PM. With that said, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
we doing?
Do what now?
What the heck are we doing?